Am I the asshole for ignoring the calls from my dad's mistress? It was just 2 years ago that me and my mother discovered that my dad had an affair and have a 12-years-old kid from that woman. It was heartbreaking, but my mom can't really divorce my dad because she's been a SAH mom for years and she's already old and can't really find a job anymore. I'm 23, and have only been working for almost 3 months now. I didn't finish college due to falling in depression after the revelation of the affair. But no one can help me. My mom has her own problem and I don't want to be financially rely on my cheating father anymore. Besides, I'm an adult now. And as an adult, I suck it up and tried to get out of my depression as I look for a job. Onto the topic, Dad pays a visit a few days ago. For some reason, my mom still loves him despite all of that, so she welcomes him. I work 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week. But since I don't want to engage with that man, I didn't come home till 8 in the evening. I didn't talk to him much. He never said sorry or anything and tries to make simple conversation or asking how was my life. This man have been on and off of my life since I was 12, so yeah. I don't really have a bond with him. 9 p.m., he left, but he gave us a few cash. He haven't given anything to us for a year, saying he'll visit again. After he left and me and my mom ate dinner, I stayed in my room to rest and play with my phone. That's when I notice I had a few missed calls from someone. I don't recognize the number, so I ignored it. 2 hours passed and I receive another call from the same number. I don't really give out my phone number, to be honest. And because of the scams that's going on, I never really answer calls from unknown number except if I'm expecting a call from someone. As expected, I dropped the call and went about my night. Morning came. I check Facebook for any messages from friends. That's when I found a message from that woman berating me from not answering my phone. My dad doesn't really have a phone, so no one can really contact him when he goes out, except when he borrows phone from his colleagues. So the woman had been calling me to reach out to my dad, who she knew went to visit us. She was calling me because her son got into an accident and they needed him for help. But since I've been ignoring calls, the boy didn't get treated early because they don't have money to pay for an Uber or to the hospital. I don't really care about her, but I'm not a cold-hearted to not feel sorry for the kid. I don't accept him as a brother, but I don't blame him either. I feel so guilty for ignoring the calls. If only I answered the phone, I could have sent my dad early, especially I know that he's not coming back on his apartment when he mentioned he's going out for drinks with his friends. Am I the asshole for not answering the phone call? I haven't told this to my mom and can't reach out my dad or his friend because I don't know which friend he's with and I don't have any contact info of his friends. Edit for update. Thank you so much for those who replied that I should not feel guilty for not answering her phone calls. I'll talk to my dad about this the next time he visits. I already block her number and her Facebook because I have no responsibility on her. I don't know the names of her other kids, so I can't block them, but if they did, I'll just block them. I want to clarify something about why I don't immediately answer my phone calls and my job status, because I read a heated argument here. I started job hunting on November, got hired and start training on December to January. I start actually working on February and my job forbid us to use our phones, so it was always on my locker. I also don't use them when I commute because I'm afraid it'll get stolen, so I only use them at home. Voicemails isn't really that familiar concept here on my country, so people rarely left one when a call didn't get answered, but I do agree that she should have just messaged me in the first place or not message me at all. It's not my problem. I shouldn't be the one dealing with this in the first place. Again, thank you for the nice people here who had replied and gave advice. I do need therapy. Not the asshole. You didn't know. You're not obliged to answer your phone, particularly if it's an unknown number. I don't. Your dad should have asked if it was okay to share your phone number with her, then you would have known who was calling. And she could have texted explaining the situation when you didn't answer. This whole situation was caused by the fact that your dad chooses not to have a phone, which makes it harder for people to contact him. This is on him. Not the asshole for not answering your phone. The kid is also not the asshole. They didn't ask to be born into this shit show. Ultimately, though, they are not your responsibility and you had no reason to know that phone call was about that child being injured. I feel for the child, but that child being without support makes your dad an ass, not you. Not the asshole. You didn't ignore calls from her. You ignored calls from an unknown number for reasons you explained very well. It does sound like you're holding onto a lot of pain and anger right now, though. Have you talked through this with anyone? Not the asshole. You didn't know it was her. You didn't know the circumstances. Besides, it's your dad's responsibility to tend to them, not yours. Not the asshole. You are not obligated to pick up your phone to unknown numbers, and you are not your dad's personal assistant. She should be pissed at him for being an irresponsible parent by not being reachable in an emergency. Also, I smell a rat with her. If it was such an emergency, and you weren't answering, why didn't she send a message, SMS or FB, explaining it was her calling and why? Did she call your mother? Edit. Clarity. Am I the asshole for not letting my roommate get her way with me? I, 22F, am in a room of 4 with 3 other girls. One who I've known since my first year in uni and have always been roommates with and hence good friends. I'm in my 3rd year now and we switched rooms and ended up with 2 new roommates. Things have been going well despite the initial awkwardness and misunderstandings of meeting new people. We've all tried to be civil with each other and even go as far as playing a lot with ourselves, though naturally I'd be closer with my roommate whom I've known since. Last week, my roommate, 26F, comes into the room when I'm reading on my bed with the lights on and tells me to put the light off. I explain to her that I can't as it is tests week and I have tests back to back the coming week. She tells me she's tired, her body is aching and she needs to sleep early to be early for her class the next day, and tells me further that once it's 11 in the night it's light out and I should go to the hostel library to read if I want to read. I explain to her that I'm more comfortable on my bed, and if we're being honest, the hostel library is far from our room as well, so it's not practical to leave at that time and climb multiple stairs just to read where I'm comfortable in my room. She calls me inconsiderate and I tell her that if I was inconsiderate I'd turn the lights on early in the morning that day instead of using my phone's light to read, as it was a bit early so I wouldn't inconvenience anybody, just like I had done that morning. I also tell her the other new roommate had also asked me if I was still reading and I explained to her that I wasn't yet done and she understood. My roommate doesn't listen and instead walks to the light switch and puts the light off and tells me while tapping her hands that nobody reads by that time and so I should go to bed or go elsewhere. I tell her angrily then that it would be more understandable if she gave me a little time limit so I'd even maybe finish the chapter I was almost done with and put off the light rather than switching it off like that. I switch the lights back on and we both argue for a bit and I tell her we could both keep switching the lights on and off and I wouldn't be tired. She says the same thing and says she wouldn't let me read if that was so. I told her, her manner of approach was controlling and it wasn't proper as she didn't give me proper options but instead gave me an ultimatum for a room we all paid for and had equal rights to. She said she was tired and didn't need the disturbance and had left the room before because she saw I was reading. I don't complain about all her excesses as I'm a laugh-it-off person, so it's quite surprising that she wouldn't want to make a compromise. I've been in that same room and felt uncomfortable with the lights on, but because I'm uncomfortable with it doesn't mean I should stop the other people using the lights for their own reasons. I didn't see it as something I'd argue about, but we ended up fighting about it and have not talked for a week since then, and she also didn't wish me a happy birthday on my birthday even though we joked about it days before the fight. Today I and my old roommate, who also has her birthday on the same month, is preparing for church when I overhear her asking my old roommate what she would like for her birthday. It's funny because she ignored me totally on my birthday, and though it didn't really hurt my feelings, I just find it petty and surprising that somebody I was joking with just a few days ago would do that, but she might have her reasons. I've let it go, though we still aren't on talking terms as she's avoided me ever since. My other new roommate is on a short break for the Eid celebration, and my older roommate and close friend commented on how she feels stuck in the middle and how she feels the room is now chilly and unwelcoming because we're both not in speaking terms and mind our businesses. So am I the asshole? You are the asshole. Lights off at 11 is a completely reasonable policy. In a shared bedroom, it's only reasonable to keep the lights on later if that's unanimous. You are the asshole. You had other options, they were just slightly less convenient for you. You were being inconsiderate. People have a right to sleep, undisturbed in their own bedrooms. You are the asshole. If you want to read that late at night, get a book lamp. Yay, you are the asshole. Buy a soft reading lamp. Am I the asshole for refusing to sit next to this man? I, F. 30s, was riding an almost empty train. There were maybe 5 or 6 people in the whole carriage. I sat in a 4-seater, 2 seats on one side, 2 across, and spread out my stuff, put my jacket on the seat across from me and put my feet on it so that the seat wouldn't get touched by my socks. If it matters. It was early in the morning and I had been wearing these socks for less than an hour. My shoes are also clean as I alternate 2 pairs daily to let them dry out between uses. A guy in his late 40s or maybe early 50s entered the train, came straight to me and said, "Move your bag." I was puzzled since there was plenty of free seats to go around, so I asked if he really wanted this particular seat and he said yes. So I picked up my bag, he plopped down next to me and I proceeded to pack up my laptop, drink, jacket, put on my shoes and move to a different four-seater. I spread out again. Before I could even get my shoes off, the dude was standing in front of me and said, "Move your bag." I asked why. He said that he wanted to sit there. I answered that he had been wanting that certain seat that I vacated for him, so I don't see why you would want to switch seats. He scoffed and explained that it was not about the specific seat but about entitled people who think their bags deserve a seat. I told him that I moved once for him and wouldn't move again. He made a movement as if he wanted to grab my bag and I raised my voice saying, "Don't you fucking dare." He started lamenting about entitled people again. I told him, "I moved for you. There are hundreds of free seats on this train, sit somewhere else." He called me an asshole and went back to his seat. Then he called someone on his phone, or acted like it, who knows, and proceeded to loudly complain about entitled bitches. To be clear, when a train fee up, I of course gather my stuff and vacate seats around me so that others can sit. But I don't see why I should let some rondo boss me around and invade my personal space for no reason. And #X200B. Edit. I am having a good laugh about all the people commenting on me putting very clean socks on my reasonably clean jacket. While of course instead there must be only butts on seats, and as we all know, butts are so much more hygienic than feet. I seem to have pinpointed that it's considered bad manners in some cultures. Maybe in the US where a lot of users are coming from. In my culture it is not considered bad manners, so I will not be taking your advice of "keep your damn shoes on" to heart. My question was also about refusing to let the sit guy next to me and not across from me, so I am really amused by so many people focusing on that. So, I will be ignoring all shoe-related comments, but of course if your heart so desires, please let it all out. And #X200B. Edit 2. Okay, now people are sliding into my DMs and asking for pictures of my feet. What have I done? And #X200B. Edit 3. More serious this time. That's a lot of comments here. I just took the time to read all of them and answer as many as I can. It took nearly 3 hours. One thing pops up a lot, namely people being scared for me in that situation. Thank you for your concern, I really appreciate it. I would like to address that. The situation was not scary. I would say I am pretty good at listening to my gut and it has served me really well so far. But in this situation, my spidey senses were not tingling at all. My impression of the dude was one of self-righteousness and some tinge of entitlement. Maybe a bit of creepiness, but no hints of danger of physical violence. There were a lot of people describing situations that started out similarly and were honestly scary. I really hope that all of you are okay. Also, I am updating from the train right now, with my shoes on, cheeky smiley face. Not the asshole. This guy is a creeper and looking to cause trouble with you, a woman. Good for you not putting up with it. With plenty of room on the train, he had a ton of seats to choose from. He was technically correct, the best kind of correct about being able to sit in any seat. But his insistence on enforcing his technical correctness on you makes him a hole and an overbearing prick. You're definitely not the asshole. Not the asshole I would have told the guy after the second encounter that he was the one acting entitled by forcing his opinions on complete strangers, and that he was being a creepy perv by repeatedly wanting to sit so close to you. Not the asshole he sounds like a strange dude that was trying to harass you. Please keep your shoes on and don't put your feet on the seats regardless of if you're just in your socks. It's obnoxious behavior in public. It also makes it harder for you to run if you need to. Other than that, not the asshole. Am I the asshole for yelling at my boss about his wife? For background, I work at a small doctor's office with about 5 total staff members, one being the doctor. I'm applying to medical school next year, so I try to work as hard I can. I don't want to brag, but as a 22-year-old girl, I have learned to operate the X-ray machine, explain procedures, on call for post-procedure concerns, process samples, help with the injection room, read MRIs, X-rays, take care of patient complaints, and occasionally scribe. The doctor, let's call him Dr. Matt, I work for is so nice, humble, and intelligent, but is literally being run over by his uneducated wife, let's call her Sarah, and the so-called office manager. Dr. Matt loves my work ethic and rarely has issues with me, and even consults with me on some business decisions and ways to approach a patient's treatment. His wife is at the office 8 a.m. 5 p.m. Even though she has 3 little kids who she neglects all the time, and tries to control everything. She doesn't speak English very well, frustrating for everyone, and has almost zero knowledge in American healthcare. Some things Sarah has done. She constantly calls me ugly, fat, and to fix my acne. She tells me I won't ever get into medical school. She says I walk like a man. When helping with blood draws, she has taken her shoes off and put it on the patient's chair. She constantly interrupts the patient and she doesn't use gloves ever. She yells at patients who have no money. She has pulled on a patient's arm, who had a shoulder replacement, to the point the patient screamed. She lets her 5-year-old son run around the office. The other day, I was sitting with a patient in a room and trying to get his history. Sarah came into the room and stood right behind me for no reason. This is how the conversation went. Me: have you recently had any MRIs? Sarah: no, he has no MRIs. The patient: actually I had one last year. Me: okay, have you previously received any injections? Patient: well, I got 3 inject. Sarah: what medicine do you take? Me: Sarah, please let me talk to him. Anyways sir, what were you saying? Patient: I forgot, I'm sorry, I had it up to here at that point. After work, I went into Dr. Matt's office and told him everything. I said I have been patient for months, but this is ridiculous and unethical and he needs to control his wife and have her leave me alone, or I quit. I also told him that I can work somewhere else that has an HR that can control this behavior. I'm not desperate for a job, and I only like working here because of him. He was pretty stunned at the moment, so I walked out. But he called me later that night and said he understands everything and he will make sure no one comes near me. The so-called manager is another story. He also said he really appreciates my hard work and I'm the only one he can rely on. Am I the asshole for yelling at my nice and stressed out boss about his wife? Edit. I do not have a thing for Dr. Matt. And neither does he have a thing for me. He just trusts me. I have actually set more clear boundaries so this doesn't happen often anymore. Additionally, I am only judging his wife's child-rearing skills because his son on more than one occasion has ran out of the building, cause his wife zones out on Instagram. Once he almost got hit by a massive UPS truck, and another time I found him playing with the Sharps bin. I get that both parents need to be involved, but given the demands of Dr. Matt's schedule, not saying he is an amazing father, his wife should be more responsible. Info. Why is his solution to your problem with his wife, no one will come near you? Do you have a problem with the other employees too? Not the asshole. Sounds like he needed to know that's what. Kind of a tricky predicament though. There's no recourse. He could tell her ton stay away but there's no HR. She could cook it for a week and come back at you again. You are the asshole for reading MRIs when you are not licensed to do so. You could get the practice sued and closed. She seems like she speaks perfect English to me. If you literally yelled, then you're kind of an asshole because you could choose a better way to express yourself. But you're definitely not wrong for telling him what was going on with his wife and how it affects your productivity at work.